I want to start with something that I actually really relate to in my current position. And by position, I don't mean seated in my office. No, that's not it. My current position is a head basketball coach of a Division I men's team, and we have what do we have currently on our roster? We got a lot of dudes. I think it's 16 dudes, and we're going to end up with 18 dudes. You can have 13 scholarships. You can have other non-scholarships. We call them walk-ons, non-scholarship players. And I want to relate it to something that is being said about USA basketball that is both right and wrong at the same time. So if you've watched at all in any of these games, and by games, I mean exhibition games, you would know that Joel Embiid looks like he hasn't played basketball maybe ever in his life, right? It just does not look like he's sharp, does not look like he's in shape, does not look locked in with the rest of the team. For a guy who's been an NBA MVP and called by yours truly to be the most talented big man the game has ever seen, he's looked anything but so far. But I know this from coaching in a similar and dissimilar tournament, and I know that from preparing for an upcoming season. It's that everything you see now looks like it's going to be international basketball in the Olympics, smells, feels, the names on the jerseys, the way in which it's officiated, the basketball is the same. It is not the same. And there have been many people who have said on social media, whatever, and on media, and right here on Fox Sports Radio, that Anthony Davis is better with the starting group, should be playing at center. He should be the starting center. He's the guy. He moves better. He's in better shape. He spaces out the floor better, yada, yada, yada. Anthony Davis should be the starting center with USA basketball. And based upon how they played, and I haven't seen practice, but I'm guessing you're probably right. But this isn't about beating Serbia yesterday. It's not about beating Australia previously. It's not about any of that. Not about beating Canada previous to that. And you're like, well, they could show up hungover, everyone plays left-handed, and they would beat Sudan. But to win a gold medal, if you've watched when USA basketball has struggled, okay, what international competition and international rules allow is a much more traditional center. You can play old school zone defense, and oftentimes we have big guys that just get worn out. I mean, it's the whole reason that we push for Joel Embiid to naturalize. Right? So we have a legit NBA center who's fantastic when he's in shape. And though you may not need him now, and though he may not look like he belongs now, he will. And Anthony Davis or Bam Adebayo, even go back and look at the last Olympics. Like Bam Adebayo did not have a great Olympics. And one of the things he struggled with is kind of old school, big men who lean into you. Because the skill set it takes to play NBA basketball, you got to play out in the perimeter. You got to be able to block shots, but coming from outside the lane. Your teams are playing 5 out. You're playing in the drop. You're doing all these things. Whereas it's a different skill set required to play in the Olympics. It looks the same. It feels the same. It sounds the same, but it's not the same. I mean, look, it's the same reason, at least on a micro level, on some that you don't want Jaylen Brown and you do want, a Derek White. Because you need guys that can shoot, that are bigger and can guard bigger guards, and that can space and don't need the basketball. You need big guys who can score and defend at the block like it was 1992 and it's Pat Ewing trying to wear you out down there. That's the reality to it. So you're right if you say that right now, by your own eyes, Anthony Davis is playing better. It looks like he's in better shape. You're right, but you're wrong if you think that Steve Kerr and the brain trust of USA basketball is making a mistake by continuing to throw Joel Embiid out there. They're not playing for this week. They're not playing for next week. They're playing for 3 weeks from now or so, when they're playing for an Olympic gold medal. And they have to have a big guy who can score at the block and stop somebody at the block. And that is not named Anthony Davis. He does not want to play center. That is not named Bam Adebayo. He's just not big and thick enough. And they cannot score at the low block. And it's one of those things that you got to understand. You got to take my word for it, that international basketball is different, and that you have to believe in, at some point, Joel Embiid is going to win you a game. Joel Embiid is going to win you a game. And I know this because, again, I've coached in international competition. I've had these exact same conversations with a basketball staff. It's different, but it's the same. And it's what it takes you to win some games before you play in that tournament. Because when you get there, USA basketball gets no calls. We're not used to playing that style of officiating. We're everybody's biggest game. And oh yeah, by the way, the one thing that they do that we cannot do is we just don't teach low post play anymore because of the way it's officiated in the NBA, the way it's officiated in college. And we want our big guys to be screeners, rollers, throw it to the rim. That's not how it's played in international basketball. So you can be right about how Anthony Davis looks in comparison to Joel Embiid. You can be critical of Joel Embiid. What you can't do is, I don't believe, you can use this, make this critique and blow it up to meaning something bigger in terms of his NBA career. It's a different sport, it's a different composition. And frankly, my guess would be when Joel Embiid lost in the playoffs and he had a bit of a knee issue, it feels like he didn't touch a basketball for a month or two. That's what it feels like. And by the way, Shaq would be like that. And just so we're aware, if we remember, okay, Shaquille O'Neal was not on the dream team. He was on the second, and then the third like dream team, whatever. That was an abject disaster. Okay? He was actually an awful international player. Go back and look. It was not good. And yeah, Shaq won in the playoffs. He won when he had Kobe Bryant. Kobe carried them, and then oftentimes in the finals, Shaq would have a massive mismatch. But I'm not trying to diminish Shaq. He was dominant, but he's different than Joel Embiid. Different. And if the East is a weaker conference, why'd the Celtics just win going away? Granted, they didn't play the top team in the West, but how good was the actual West at the top? But the bigger point is now, he's not wrong that the ball, everything flows better with Anthony Davis. He's not wrong that Embiid feels a little clunky right now. Not wrong. But you have to have a vision of what it's going to look like when they get to the semifinals and the gold medal game. And anyone who's watched the Olympics and USA basketball, they've done this things through the embarrassment of the World Cup, through the last Olympics when they survived because of Kevin Durant. And I guarantee what they're thinking right now is, we got to have a legit big dude. We got to have Joel Embiid in shape. And sitting him over there, because Anthony Davis is playing better now, doesn't help us get him in game shape for 2-3 weeks from now. And we have the same conversations in college basketball. What it looks like now in the summer when we let him play is not what it's going to look like when we get to December 11th and I play our rival UW Milwaukee in our home arena. Right? That's the challenge of coaching, is understanding what's ahead of you, and that oftentimes, either in practice or exhibition games, it's not going to look the same once you get to the real heart of competition.